Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the hidden psychological mechanics behind why couples fight, and more importantly, how to actually resolve it. If you've ever found yourself in one of those heated, utterly exhausting debates over absolutely nothing, you know the ones, the research we're unpacking today is going to be incredibly revealing. So let's just get right into it. Think about your last major blowout with your partner. Was it really about that wet towel left on the bathroom floor, or the socks on the coffee table, or the dirty plate sitting literally right next to an empty sink? We've all been there. But research reveals that these minor annoyances, the ones that spark the loudest, most intense arguments, are almost never the true cause of the conflict. The real truth? Those trivial matters are just the superficial trigger. They're the spark. The actual underlying causes of your conflict usually boil down to four core pillars: securing power, control, respect, and love. When you're arguing endlessly about who drops the kids off at school, you aren't really arguing about the logistics. You're actually fighting for recognition, for care, and for respect. All right, let's jump into section 1, upbringing, envy, and resentment. It's absolutely fascinating how our childhood baggage sneaks right into our present-day arguments. Often, we harbor this really specific psychological trap. We resent in others the abilities we lack in ourselves. Like, if your upbringing taught you to never ask directly for what you want, you might deeply envy a partner who does exactly that. Instead of admiring their assertiveness, well, actually, scratch that. Instead of admitting that you admire them, you criticize them. You try to put them down simply because they don't fit the rigid ideology you were raised with. That brings us to section 2, the snowball effect. Let's see how things go from trivial to monumental. We really need to look at exactly how a microscopic, seemingly insignificant disagreement mutates into an absolute blow-up. Picture this. Minute 1. It starts with something so trivial. Maybe your partner is making tea and they forget to bring you a cup. Innocent enough, right? But fast forward to minute 5, and suddenly the argument has escalated. You start bringing up other tiny, negligible habits that you had previously ignored. And by minute 15, the snowball has turned into a total avalanche, and you are yelling about a completely unrelated comment your mother-in-law made 3 weeks ago. Things you didn't even care about at the time suddenly become premium ammunition. Which leads us perfectly into section 3, mental traps and biases. When a fight escalates, our brains completely betray us. We fall into these heavy psychological traps. Take confirmation bias, for instance. This happens when you already believe something, so you exclusively hunt for evidence that backs it up, completely rejecting all contrary proof. Let's say you get in your head that your partner is a slob. Because of confirmation bias, you'll cherry pick. You actively look for that one dropped sock to confirm your bias. And suddenly, you become totally blind to the fact that they literally just cleaned the entire kitchen. And right next to that is the fundamental attribution error. This is a massive roadblock for couples. Basically, it means being highly partial toward your own errors, while judging the other person incredibly harshly for the exact same mistakes. We make these convenient situational excuses for our own behavior, but then we attack our partner's innate character, like the same rules somehow don't apply to them. This perfectly captures the hypocrisy we all fall into. If I'm late, well, I tell you I got stuck in a horrific traffic jam. It's circumstantial. But if you're late, I tell you it's because you're fundamentally undisciplined. It's an attack on who you are. We do the exact same thing with our moods. If I'm cranky, it's because I had a rough day at work. But if you're in a bad mood, it's because you lack self-control and are just a miserable person. And that brings us to section 4, the 10-second limit. At the absolute peak of an argument, couples get sucked into this totally toxic cyclical trap. It's an endless loop of attack, blame, and defend. One person attacks, the other gets incredibly defensive and redirects the blame, which then just sparks a brand new attack. Round and round it goes, completely destroying any chance of genuine communication. But here's the number that is just staggering to me. 10. 10 seconds. Research shows that during a conflict, we only actually listen to our partner for about 10 seconds. After that incredibly tiny little window, our brain just stops absorbing what they're saying and immediately starts preparing our rebuttal. We aren't listening to understand at all. We are literally just waiting for our turn to speak. Now here's the kicker, and it's so vital to remember. Listening completely does not mean you agree. You can listen fully, absorb their entire point, and still completely disagree with them. But when you actually listen to the other person without plotting your next attack after 10 seconds, you gain so much power to control the situation and formulate a thoughtful, reasonable response. Okay, so moving into our final section, Section 5, breaking the cycle. How on earth do we stop this runaway train? Well, you can efficiently handle a conflict by using these 3 actionable, research-backed steps. Step 1. Consider saying absolutely nothing. Just take some time away to process the issue before coming back with a reasonable point. Step 2. You might just need to drop your ego and say sorry. Apologize for the terrible things you said in the heat of the moment. And Step 3. Consider writing a letter. Writing lets you pour your heart out safely, and it gives your partner a chance to read it completely through without jumping to a 10-second defensive judgment. To actually pull those steps off, you need self-esteem. And a beautiful way to define that is knowing your own flaws but still holding yourself in high regard. Ultimately, true resolution requires exactly this level of self-esteem. It allows you to say sorry for the terrible things you might have blurted out without feeling like your entire character is being destroyed. You can admit you are wrong, knowing your core value is perfectly intact. As we wrap up this explainer on the anatomy of our arguments, I want to leave you with one final memorable question. The next time you argue with your partner, will you truly listen to understand, or will you just wait 10 seconds to prepare your next attack? Let that sink in, try applying these insights, and just watch how it transforms your relationships. Thanks so much for exploring this topic with me, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.